So if you guys have logged into the game, you probably have noticed that there is this custom group summon available currently where you can actually choose up to 3 units with their artifact and actually pull for all of these units and these artifacts on one single banner. So these are the 3 that I'm going for. Don't ask me why, but I'm going to show you how it works. I'll do one summon here just to show you. Because basically you have a chance to actually pull for all 3 of these units as well as their respective artifacts on this banner, as you guys can see from this percent chance here. You can see that there's a 1% chance for that 5-star hero you can get, as well as that 1.75, which is the same with other banners. But you'll see within the heroes, split between that 1%, you have 3 units you can get, so it's 0.33. And for the artifacts, there's a lot of math because you can always pull off banner artifacts as well. And as you pull, instead of a pity system, you'll get 1 coin for every summon. If you open the shop here with the coin, I did 1 summon as you guys saw. I can actually trade in these coins for other things, right? You can actually pull for unlimited copies of these units here. You can also pull for 1 copy of each for these artifacts. And if you scroll down, there's some other things that are available. The most important thing, obviously, is that you get the artifacts or the hero that you are looking for. And in the Powder of Knowledge shop, along with the current banner artifact, which is going to be Laya's artifact here, as well as Kisei, who's also running alongside this custom group summon, you will see the artifacts that you can actually get from the custom group summon in this shop and available. If you don't see them, the reason why you don't see some of them will be because they're actually available in the current rotation. So I have Elbrus from Charlotte's banner, which is available, and the reason why it's not showing up here for 240 is because it's cheaper down here, so you don't actually spend more powder than you need to. But that's basically how it works. So we actually have a tier list for this custom group summon, what you want to prioritize, as I always do with these banners, and we're going to actually be combining PvP and PvE into one tier list to make it more simpler for everyone out there. I will be separating these into separate tier lists in the near future, probably tomorrow or the day after. We'll have 2 separate videos for PvP and PvE because their priorities are very different. But for the most part, you can see that there's going to be really good banners here and some really bad ones, and we're going to be taking into account their artifact as well. And if some units here are higher up, such as Cerise, just because of the artifact is that good, we'll talk about it. So we have 5 tiers: S tier, A tier, B tier, the C tier, and the D tier, and then other units down below which are already free, so you don't really want to ever get them. But starting off with the S tier, we have very popular units here. We have the 2 very strong openers in PvP, Lua and Noggle. They're not ever used in PvE, but they're that powerful in PvP that they're going to actually make it into this S tier. We have very powerful PvE units such as Tamarin and Rowana, with Tamarin being exclusive for PvE, but similar to Lua and Noggle, she's just so good at what she does, so she's in this S tier, whereas Rowana is very good in PvE, while being very good in PvP as well as counter attackers. And then some other units, we have Destina, who's a very solid Soul Weaver for PvP and PvE. Honestly, I might be rating her a little bit too highly, but I think she's very solid, especially for new players. And Zahak, one of the best single target damage dealers for PvP because he ignores evasion basically, and also he's very good in PvE with his utility as well. Then in the A tier, we have some limited units, which we'll talk about, and we also have some regular units that you're going to see. So Cerise, only here because of Guiding Light, very strong artifact on Rangers, pretty much a must-have on some Rangers such as like Briar, which is Saria, Noggle, and Lua really want that artifact as well, so you definitely want to make sure you pick up at least 1 copy of her artifact and buy it from at least the Powder of Knowledge shop, because that artifact is pretty much a requirement on Lua and Noggle. Otherwise, you run the risk of getting destroyed by like Assassin Sids, Zeos, and stuff like that, so you want to make sure you have at least 1 copy of Cerise's artifact. If you don't have Guiding Light, I would definitely recommend picking Cerise as one of your target units and just buying her artifact. The unit isn't that great, but the artifact is pretty much overpowered, and the game is balanced around her artifact. I just realized you can't see the units on the right all the way when we scroll down here, so we'll actually make it a little bit more condensed. Next we have Landy. Landy's pretty good. Luna's pretty good as well, just very solid single target damage dealers for PvE. Landy's artifact's not that great. Luna is slightly worse than Landy for PvE, actually significantly worse I'd say, but her artifact Draco Plate is extremely good. Saria here, very good for PvE with her S2 skill cooldown reset pairing with Tamarin, and just a very solid unit in general for PvE. Brieg, whatever you want to call him, I think it's Brieg. Very solid for PvE, one of the best, if not the best PvE knight in the game. Honestly, he should probably be somewhere around here. He's just that good. Definitely want to make sure you have him. He makes expeditions easy and just other stuff. Eula and Crow, very solid PvP knights, very good for Guild Wars offense, and they can one-shot units with their S3, obviously. Seaside Bologna, pretty good in PvE and usable in PvP. Her artifact is very strong as well on her. The thing is, you need it maxed out to be consistent, but you don't have to run her on the artifact. You can just run her on something else, and she's pretty solid. And we have Politis here as well, rounding out this A tier, because she's very good against non-attack skills, and especially cleavers. Then we have the B tier units. So these units are just going to be okay for the most part. You have units such as like Senya and Shu here were very good for Guild Wars defense. Same with Lilius. Actually, this team is very popular. Senya, Shu, Lilius like this, which is very funny. But, these units are very good for Guild Wars defense. DN is limited, who is pretty solid in PvE and pretty solid in PvP. You have cleave openers such as like Ran, Amid, Summertime Assyria, and Vildred. You have like Arya here, who's good for arena offense. You have Vildred here, who's very good for speed contesting with his imprint. Alencia, very good for PvP. Shrun, also very good for PvP against health scaling bruisers. Celine here for non-attack skills, and then you have some other units like Violet, who's a RNG unit with his evasion, not as great anymore, but still usable. And then the recently buffed Bihu with his exclusive equipment, honestly might be higher. We have to test him out. But for now, I'm going to keep him comfortably in the B tier and then Flan another cleave opener or enabler. And then rounding out this C tier, we have these units that do have some niche uses, but are not going to be that great and not really a priority. Honestly, anything below the B tier I wouldn't really focus on, and the D tier I'm not going to talk about at all. They're just very bad units. But in the C tier, we'll talk about everyone's niche very briefly. So Elena, she is very good against AoE cleave. Command model Ica, very good in PvP as like an opener. Ada, cleave unit. Elgus, cleave unit. Ravi is going to be a solid, just a solid unit for just a jack of all trades for PvE and PvP. Luca's a defense breaker for PvE. Ray's a cleanser for PvE and PvP. Cecilia is mostly for expeditions. Summerbreak Charlotte is going to be for cleavers, but she kind of fell off because she requires just a lot of units to work with her. Bologna, PvE unit for Raid and also Abyss. Aruka, a barrier counter. Fairy Tale Tenebria, a slow team counter with her opening abilities. Hwayoung here, very good against low attack units. Very good against Soul Weavers and Knights for Guild Wars. Abigail, just a cheesy unit with injuries. Balances on, good for Earth Expedition. Kisei, good for Guild Wars defense and for some PvE content as a single target damage dealer. Ilyanov, a injury setter, pretty much it. Kairon, good counter cleave unit, and Tenebria, a PvE unit also probably for expeditions and where you want AoE defense breaks and sometimes Abyss as well. So yeah, this is pretty much the entire tier list for the custom group summon. Not going to go too in depth because I will have a PvP and PvE tier list as well. Probably tomorrow, because I know a lot of people only care about one or the other. If you're in the super late game, you probably only care about PvP. If you are in the early game, you most likely only care about PvE. But for now, we have this generalized tier list. You have some idea of what the power strengths and power levels of are these units. The key artifacts I'm going to say are going to be Cerese's with her Guiding Light. And honestly, that's pretty much it. You could also say like Charlotte's is pretty good as well if I can find Charlotte down here, but that's not going to really matter too much for you in the early game. It's only for the super late game players who want multiple copies of Charlotte's artifact maxed out, which is Elbrus. So I think the only one you want to focus on, to be honest, is going to be Cerese's. It is just super, super powerful, and you definitely want to make sure you have at least one copy of it. But yeah, this is pretty much the tier list for the custom group summon. If you guys have any qualms or have any suggestions for where I should place some other units on this tier list you don't agree with, then let me know in the comments down below. I'm pretty sure I have all the ones you can select. If I'm missing any, let me know. As you guys know, there's some units, if we actually look on the right here, that are unavailable because they either released too recently or from collaboration. So that's pretty much it for this video though, guys. If you guys found this helpful, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.